Something we should be used to when we hear all the news coming out about West Ham is just the constant rumor mill is ridiculously relentless. Ridiculously relentless. We're going to report on all the stuff that comes out and we're going to give our spin on it. And when it rains, it pours, it seems, when you're a West Ham fan. We've got the saga continuing. I said it week in and week out daily as we speak about Declan Rice. But not really on our radar was the link that I'm about to talk about. But it should be. It should have been on our radar because the player is bloody fantastic. And West Ham may face a real battle to keep Lucas Paqueta at the London Stadium this summer amid the interest that Paris Saint-Germain are keen on the Brazilian international. Now, the 25-year-old was named in the UEFA's Europa Conference League team of the tournament after helping West Ham end our stretch without a trophy. And we went ahead and we beat Fiorentina 2-1 in that final. And a fantastic through ball. What a fantastic through ball it was from Paqueta as well. And he did become West Ham's record signing last summer, moving from Lyon in a deal worth around £50 million with additional add-ons. And he has really established himself as a fan favourite, me included. Love the geezer to bits. Now, there's no ifs or buts about it. He definitely needed time to adjust to the pace of the Premier League, but turned in a reasonable amount, if not very high number of impressive performances during the second half of the season, playing a pivotal role as to why West Ham warded off the threat of relegation, but also lent himself to the cause of winning the Europa Conference League. Now, we will play in the Europa League next year as a result, as we go in as number one seeds, and our preparations for the new season have been kind of slightly taken over by the whole Declan Rice situation. And it seems to be that we're kind of waiting for that situation to transpire and find out the result of that before we can actually make any moves ourselves in the transfer market. But we may have another big problem in our hands, and that is that League One champions, PSG, if they decide to follow up their interest in Paqueta. Now, sources have confirmed and reports are suggesting that the former Champions League finalists are keeping tabs on the situation, knowing that the player has recently changed representatives. Now, as if you didn't know, Lucas Paqueta's agent's firm has changed recently. And that is always a bit of a concern when you hear about that mid-season, like Skamaka did, and also at the tail end of the season now, like Lucas Paqueta has done. Now, some of the reports are even suggesting that Paqueta wasn't technically overly enthused by West Ham's performances in the Premier League last season, but who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be? Who would be enthused by them? Nobody would be. It wasn't a fantastic performance. And obviously going on to win the Europa Conference League has, possibly brushed some of that dust under the carpet, and maybe that will come to the fruition in the new season. And when you look through the West Ham squad, you can't help but start to worry slightly if we don't inject some of that youthfulness back into the team. And potentially there was also maybe some concern from Paqueta's team that they're maybe not into the style of play that David Moyes has got, and really they don't necessarily play to Lucas Paqueta's strengths. Always kind of looking to hit the opposition teams on the counter, which is something that Paqueta's not had to do, especially playing for Brazil or playing for the top teams like he has done with Lyon. Now, his change of agent doesn't necessarily mean that he will leave West Ham, but you can't help but start to think, why at this stage of the season would you do that? He is a regular in the Brazilian first team. He's got friends all over the world, and he probably will look at all the other teams and think, shit, look at that success. It's about weighing it up. What would you do if you were West Ham fans? Would you want Champions League and not win a Europa Conference League like Newcastle have got, or would you rather take the trophy and not have the Champions League? But what do players think? What do players want? West Ham are unlikely to entertain any form of bids that come in for Paqueta because our fully focused situation is on Declan Rice, and the situation there, what happens if he leaves, who's going to come in. What we can't afford to do is lose Lucas Paqueta. The reason why is because he is pivotal. He is pivotal to West Ham's success moving forward. he is he has this season in particular, or just gone by, operated in three distinct roles for us. Early in the campaign, he was deployed as a traditional number 10, but West Ham were not a team built around retaining that possession in the final third, and he struggled to find his, va voom, you could say, in that position. And having seen his record excel for when he played in his role for Brazil, especially at the World Cup and formerly when he played at Lyon, Moyes decided to experiment with Paqueta alongside Declan Rice in that kind of double pivot role in the central of midfield. And he was far more involved, but he was still quite a bit far away from goal. And near the end of the season, 4-3-3 was really where he kind of flourished a lot. He was operating as more of a box to box player, and he is most dangerous in his transition. And you can't remotely take that away from him. The guy is a fucking beast, man. He's unbelievable on the ball. He surfs, tackles. He knows how to rein in a situation where he's put under pressure. He seems to invite the pressure because that seems to be where his ability and his strength and his desire comes from, is when he's put under an extreme amount of pressure. Now, building our team around Lucas Paqueta is what we need to do moving forward. The issue I've got with this link is, if you are Lucas Paqueta and PSG come calling and you're going to be playing Champions League and they're going to pay big bucks and they're going to pay you big bucks, and West Ham don't want to sell, could we find ourselves in a situation where the player downs tools and doesn't want to play at the club anymore because of this situation? If you're Lucas Paqueta and you're looking at your counterpart beside you and you're thinking, God, we can't keep Declan Rice, and there's talks of other players heading out the door, and we need to wait for money to come in, and voom, and vice versa. There's so many different things playing on the factor, and he may be thinking, maybe it is time. Maybe this is the move. He doesn't owe the club anything. He seems to really enjoy his time at the club, but fancies a move, being the big Brazilian in the French league for the top team in Europe, who can sign anyone really they want whenever they want. That's going to be a tough one for West Ham to deal with. We've never been able to deal with egos, and I'm not saying Lucas Paqueta's got an ego, but his best mate, Bruno Guimaraes, is going to be playing in the Champions League next season. And when you think of the Brazilian squad and the Brazilian players, they're going to be playing a lot of them are going to be playing for the top teams in Europe next year as well, all bar Richarlison, of course. Anyway, I just had to get that one in. But I think you get the drift of what I'm trying to say. This link is hopefully a link. This is something hopefully that they won't follow through with, because I fear if they try to follow through with this, because it's not that West Ham are going to knock it back. We can. It's the repercussions if we were to knock back and he wanted to go. It's fine that you turn around and say, just knock them back and tell the player to get on with it. It doesn't always work like that. I'm just going to use a couple of players as an example, but one in particular is Dimitri Payet. When he wants to go, he wants to go. He refused to train. I'm not agreeing with him in any way at all, but that is sometimes what happens in the modern game, and you can't hold back from a player that wants to go. I am not saying he is leaving our club. I am remotely not saying he's leaving our club. But could this be a genuine concern for us? Absolutely. Let's just hope it's not enough of a concern that we fear that he is actually leaving our club. Like I said, we need to build our team around the pivotal Lucas Paqueta, the absolute dominating creative midfielder that we've got. And could you imagine him alongside the other players that we could really bring into the fold to make a big, big change to West Ham moving forward? Where's the ambition? Where's the progress? That's what we need to do. We need to bring that ambition into the team. And when you've got players like Lucas Paqueta sitting there, that's when you need to add that value. That's when you need to really push the boundaries to make sure players like that stay. It's fine that you're sitting there fully concentrating on the Declan Rice situation, but it would be naive of you to sit there and think, well, all our players are okay. We've only signed them last year and they just want to stay. It doesn't work like that. Football's changed. The modern game's changed. Big teams, big money, big agendas always take over. The top teams in the world take over, and that is exactly where we could find ourselves in with the Lucas Paqueta. Priority number one, keep Paqueta on our books. Holy shit, man. I couldn't handle if he left. Could you imagine we find ourselves at the end of the summer without Paqueta, Scamacca, and Declan Rice? What a ridiculous thing to think of. Let's just hope this one is a rumor and stays a rumor and doesn't turn into anything. Let's hope that West Ham have got the vision enough to see that Lucas Paqueta can be the main dog at the club. You know what? Is he a contender even for captain? Is he captain material? Is there a concern that he doesn't speak a huge amount of English? But he seems to have the grittiness in the middle of the park to be able to give me the confidence that he could and may have a little bit of captain material about him. Put it in the comments because I'm sure we'll talk about it again tomorrow. Let me know your thoughts on the link of PSG looking at Lucas Paqueta. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think? Is he going to be in Paris? Is he going to be in London? Where would you rather be? Here we go again. Come on, you irons.